Today is Tuesday, the 22nd of February. Seemed like a nice enough day to record. We have a hacked together recording booth now, so if Victoria can do her show and I can figure out how to do a podcast inside a fancy box so the echo isn't so terrible, as soon as I can figure out how to time things across 6 hours, which is twice as hard as timing it across 3 hours. But it seemed like a good time to take questions because a lot of people have been asking us some stuff, and I'm totally stealing from some of Victoria's mentions because people asked some really interesting things. So let me get a tripod set up and we'll do a Q&A. Of course, by tripod, I mean books stacked precariously against my surface because I don't know how to work the weird clampy thing. So, alright. So, we've gotten a lot of questions. I'm totally stealing some from Victoria's mentions also because they're very interesting. Some of the stuff that I'm going to cover is how did I bring stuff and what was the moving process like? What has made me question basic assumptions, or what assumptions did I have that I didn't realize I had? What's the learning curve been like? How much German did I know before, and do I know now, and am I planning on learning more? How I'm doing, if I have any plans for the future. So some of these are going to be a little bit long-winded. The first and most pertinent one, I think, is how did we bring stuff over? And what was that process like? And the really short answer is that we didn't. We didn't bring stuff. I brought what would fit in one large 28-inch suitcase, one carry-on but checked suitcase, and a rolling backpack. And whatever I couldn't fit into that I wanted to bring, I put in a small box that a friend of mine has, and that they will ship to me when I have however much to ship. The long story is that I spent the entire month of January trying to sell everything that we had on Craigslist and give it to friends and donate it and whatever, to varying degrees of success. Craigslist is really flaky and exhausting to do. People suggested other things like FreeCycle or Facebook Marketplace, but I didn't have the capacity to add more scheduling of people getting stuff than I already was doing. So I could have done more, I could have done better, but I only had the capacity that I had. So we tried to sell everything. We had friends come over and take stuff. We tried to donate stuff, which didn't go as well as we hoped it would. And then in the end, for our furniture, I just called 1-800-JUNK, and I felt really bad about it, but then I helped them bring stuff out, and I talked to them and I asked them what they did with stuff, and what they do is they redistribute it to as many places as they can before it goes to the dump. So they give it to charity, they donate it to communities who could use the thing, they bring it to the recycling and reuse center so it gets recycled and reused. If there are things like tools that they can use, they'll keep them and use them, which I was really happy about. So I felt a lot less bad about hiring a service to get rid of all of my furniture and tools and whatever, knowing that they do their best to make sure it doesn't wind up in a landfill. So we did that. That still didn't take care of everything. We had a bunch of stuff that we still needed to get rid of. So whatever didn't fit in what we were taking, and that remained, uh, wound up ultimately in the dumpster slash recycling bins of my apartment. Which is unfortunate, but the last 2 weeks were chaos, and it was a lot and a bit infuriating. So, what I brought in my suitcases was a week and a half worth of clothes. Things that I brought with me and what helped me decide like what to pack and what to ship was stuff that I knew that I would need to function, right? So I work from home. I run my own business. I have clients with deadlines for the end of the month. So I brought my Surface, which is what I use for doing my client work. I brought my Lenovo that is running Fedora, which is what I use to edit these videos and what I'll be using to podcast on eventually. I brought my Switch, so I had something to do on the plane. I brought the 2 books that I'm currently reading. I brought my current art journal, my current working on projects journal, and my current diary. I brought my pens and markers so I could use those things and not go nuts. I brought 3 paintings, and the other things that I brought were stuff that was like really sentimental that I wanted to have because I knew they would help me feel grounded. So I brought some jewelry of mine that has been sentimental. I brought the pottery that a friend made when my partner and I got our domestic partnership in 2019. And I brought stuffed animals that I made with other partners from Build-A-Bear. So I brought my dog and my dragon and my blue lion that was a present to myself a couple years ago. What else? I brought, I dismantled my main computer, Cerberus, and I brought Cerberus in a monogrammed messenger bag from CRHE, and I brought my CRHE water bottle because that was an organization that I started that I really care a lot about. And what took up the most space, honestly, outside of like my computers, the other thing I brought for working was my microphone and desk arm, a pair of headphones, and my purple seat cushion so I can sit for long periods of time without my back screaming at me. But the biggest thing that took up the most space and that I was honestly the most concerned about was bringing my 3 months of medications because there is a lot. And my hormones are all in dispensers that are like this big, and I have like 6 of them. So it was just like the basic amount of things that I knew I would need in order to be able to continue working and making money, in order to like function and not go nuts. Like having my paintings out was a huge piece of me feeling like I could calm down and settle, and stuff to do. So I have books, and I have my journals, and I have ways to draw and color. And yes, that was basically all I brought. It's really light. I brought coats. I brought scarves that people have made or given me that were sentimental, and my hats, because there's winter here. So just like basic, I can get through a week, I can keep working, so I can rebuy all of the stuff that I didn't have before. So which is why I didn't have like a pillow for a whole week, which sucked. And for the cats, we brought a couple of their favorite toys, and that was basically it. We each have a box or 2 in the US for friends to ship over. So in the box that my friend is going to ship over for me, I have my library, I have my art journals for the past since 2012, I have my old journals, and a couple, 2 other fairy paintings that were Small and Flat, and a couple other like pieces of art and sentimental things that I don't need to have here in order to feel like I can normalize, but are also things that like are sentimental and historical and are pieces of my life that are very important to me that I still want to have, but I don't necessarily need to have them right now. So like a bunch of books that I've read that were given to me for so I could interview people. Those are in that box. The process of moving overall, that was chaos. It was weird. We were basically on our own because our relocation team got COVID in the 2 weeks that we had between getting the visa and moving here. So we didn't have help. We weren't shipped like a box to put stuff in, which is why I was just like frantically trying to get rid of stuff for like a month and a half. And that was really consumed most of my energy. So the process was basically Victoria gets a job pays relocation, which is like a reimbursement thing. So we'll get reimbursed for that next month. She has to apply for a visa, and the visa has to happen. Thankfully, her work has really good lawyers, and they managed to expedite what could have been a much longer process into a shorter period of time. And as soon as she got the visa, we were basically cleared to move over to Germany. So then we bought the plane tickets. We had to do all of the stuff with the cats. You can check out her video where she talks a little bit about the chaos of getting their health certificates done. Do not use the East Bay Veterinary Clinic. That is, just don't. They don't keep records. It's bad. And yeah, it's basically waiting for paperwork, and then everything happens in like 2 weeks. And you have to, pack up. And if you have pets, you have to get their certificates done no more than 10 days in advance of when you're going to be arriving. And all of the everything has to happen in a very short span of time. So we took a time lapse, which will be really interesting. We spent the last week and a half that we were there painting all of our rooms that we painted in the apartment back to white, trying to get rid of stuff, packing, getting rid of shit until the very last second, and then hopping in the van and getting to the airport. So it's complicated. It's much easier if you have a job that has lawyers who will guide you through the immigration process and can expedite things for you. The next question is what has made me question some of my most basic assumptions. The thing that blew my mind almost immediately was I saw someone smoking on the train platform, and that was okay. Some train platforms have no smoking signs, but ours in West End doesn't. So people just smoke everywhere, and it's not the thing that I need to manage my pain. It's cigarettes. So everyone is smoking cigarettes, and it's really funny because all the cigarette packs have pictures of mutated lungs on them, but people smoke everywhere. Always in places that are not socially acceptable to smoke in the US. Other things, people drive at reasonable speeds for the most part. There are no overcompensating pickup trucks, which is great. People are generally more respectful, or they understand that there are going to be people using the street who aren't driving cars, which is great. And yeah, I haven't seen many cops. I have only been, the train station, monitors have only checked my ticket once. They are around, but basically yeah, you are just kind of trusted to buy your ticket. And if not, you can buy it on the train. So there's not there's not a lot of consequence for not having a ticket, but it is like kind of expected that obviously you pay for the ticket. Like, how else is the train gonna run? So there's no gates, that you have to hop in order to get on. It's not like BART where they have the like, you know, guillotine gates to try to stop you from gate hopping. It's like you can buy the ticket literally on the platform, and if you happen to be on the train and you don't have a ticket, the people checking the tickets you can like buy a ticket there. Like, you don't get harassed or beaten or shot or anything like that. You can eat on the platforms. There are like snack vending machines and little cafes at every stop, which is awesome. I bought a Snickers for €1. It was on the platform for the S-Bahn. Like, that was super cool. Um, so just like the way people approach things here is radically different. The uh, my landlord and I were talking about like how Germany wants to, discourage people from driving, so they make the trains faster than the cars, right? Recycling, like these water bottles you take in, and like we have this in the U.S. too. You take it and you get your like quarterback or whatever, but like that's it's just like, of course you bring that back. It's all about you making decisions, and if those decisions are good for the environment, then you get rewarded for that, instead of just this sort of like, well, it's my plastic, I can do what I want with my plastic. So it's just an entirely different kind of cultural way of thinking, which I like a lot, and is definitely more of the way that I want things to be. So that's been really cool. The what hasn't been cool, and what leads into the next question, is kind of like, how much German did I know before, and how much am I planning on learning? So when my partner started interviews, when it started looking serious, and she made it past like the first 2 interviews, I started doing Duolingo, which was very helpful, actually, because I can speak the most important thing, which is mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. Um, please don't talk to me in German. But I can like understand some words, and I can recognize some words, which is helpful, but it's not enough. Like, I can't read. And because I can't read, I can't, like, I don't know what ingredients are in things, which is really bad when I have IBS, and what I eat determines whether or not I'm sick later, right? So I know the word for onion, which is Weibeln. I'm sure I'm butchering that. Um, I don't really know the word for garlic, and like there's a lot of nuances to the language that I don't understand, which make reading like lists of ingredients on things very difficult. Like, there are multiple ways to say that there's like wheat or gluten in a thing. So that has been a difficult curve for me, and a lot of eating has been just kind of getting things that I recognize and hoping for the best, which hasn't really turned out very well, because paprika, for instance, is a little bit different here than it is in the US. There's a little bit more stuff to it. There's many different kinds of salt. So I totally got the wrong salt on the first day, because I was like, oh, that says salt. But that it was a salt that had also onion salt in it, which is not good for me. So, it's finding things that like I think I recognize and I'm excited about, and then realizing that it's not actually the thing that I thought it was, has happened a bunch of times when it comes to buying groceries. Um, and that's been really difficult. And it is really hard to feel like I can't order food, because I can't read enough of the language to know what the fuck I'm ordering, right? Google Translate is actually not super helpful in some ways, like when it comes to looking at lists of ingredients. Like, it tries, but it doesn't tell me everything that I need to know. And that made things really kind of hit or miss for me and very difficult. I found stuff that looks like salmon, and I found rosemary and thyme and actual salt and pepper, and gluten-free soy sauce, which is tamari, but it's not labeled tamari here. Um, so we've been eating a lot of salmon and fries, or stir fry. Like we can get tofu and fresh bell pepper. Like those are things that are recognizable that we know. Okay, that's like a fine, safe thing. But I can't like order takeout. I can't order a burger and know that what I'm getting isn't going to be something that is going to make me feel sick later. I can't order pizza. I can't order curry because I can't read. And that's something that I'm trying to fix and planning to fix, but it's really steep and really just like I'm having a hard time getting over the demoralization aspect of it. It's such a basic thing. And to have dietary restrictions that are such that I just can't, like, I can't just order something and be like, well, I'll just try this thing and, it'll be fine. I have to be able to function the next day. So it just feels a lot more intense than it would if I didn't have dietary restrictions. I feel like there's a lot more writing on it, and it makes learning difficult because there's so much pressure of just like trying to survive, which leads into the next question, which is how am I doing with all of this? And it's hard. It's really hard. Most of my friends are asleep when I'm awake and working, and I'm tired when they're waking up. I feel really isolated because I'm at home alone with the cats all day. Moving to a place I've never been in the middle of a pandemic when there's not really stuff to do right now that I can do. Like, there's not meetups happening for immigrants, right? Like, COVID is still a thing, and stuff is starting to come back, but I don't know enough of the language or the scene or where to find people to fucking find my people. So, it's not even week 2. It's only been a week and a half. So I know this is going to get better and it's going to be okay, but it doesn't mean it doesn't suck right now in this moment. So, plans for the future, learning how to read is high up on that list. I have a book, I just need to do it. It's just I feel really demoralized, so I don't have the motivation right now. I want to take a sculpting class. That's what I want to do. Like, I want to find a sculpting class. I want to play with clay. I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know when that's going to happen, but like the whole time I've been like kind of gearing up for this and thinking about like what I want to do. I want to do something different. I want to do something creative. Like, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to continue to do. Obviously, I'm going to continue doing the podcast. I'm going to start when I get my computer built up again. I'm going to start doing some game streaming and making more videos and, doing slice of life shit like this. But I want to sculpt. I want to play with clay. I want to do that. I want to get into a clay sculpting pottery class or something, and I want to take a train to Paris and have a gluten-free croissant. Those are my plans for 2022. That's where I'm at right now. If you have questions or ideas of stuff for me to do or things that like could get me out of the apartment a little bit more during this plague time, please leave your questions in the comments or at me on Twitter or whatever. Like, subscribe, do all the things if you want to see more of this. You can support me on Patreon. Money is tight right now. And I want to do more creative stuff while I'm here. So, your support means a lot to me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me on this. And yeah, I'll see you next time.